All right. See you next time around. What's up, everyone? It's Jack Mangan. You know me from Support Life and Music, MetalAsylum.net, Metal Hall of Fame. Sometimes I'm a guest over at the Metal Voice, but I can't claim to be inner circle like Jimmy K. But anyway, you're not here for me. We're here. This is a really exciting thing going on at the end of January 2026, and the man who's kind of the mastermind behind it all and really like leading the charge who's really just a fucking superstar in this world. But it's okay if you curse once in a while, Keith. Keith St. John, man, what good to see you again.
Yeah, good to be here, brother. Thanks for having me and talking about this year's Ronnie Montrose Remembered show.
Yeah, no, of course, it's great to have you here. We might actually be joined by a guest. We might have Mark Pruett of the Whiskey Network roll in here.
Right
So if I
on.
might be super unprofessional and like looking at my keyboard and whatnot, like and seeing if he's coming in. But anyway,
Well, where
let's
are we going
talk.
to fit him in? If he comes, I guess we have to put him like right there, or maybe we can put him over. I can move over. He can come over here.
Well, yeah, we'll make room on the couch, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so talk to us. I mean, there's so many things to clarify about this. Tell us about, we'll get into Ronnie Montrose, the man himself, but talk to us about this event that's going on. It's around NAMM, but the Ronnie Montrose Remember. Talk to us a little bit. Give us the overview, what it's all about.
Right. Well, it started in 2016, and just kind of on a lark, an agent asked me if I wanted to use quote unquote one of the big rooms down around the NAMM convention around Saturday night. And I was like, who, me? And he's like, yeah, man, blah, blah, blah. So, at that point, I wanted to do a further memorial than what was done just after he passed. Because around the memorial service, the first show we did was great. It was amazing, but it was really hard to throw together. It There was no way for everyone that had played with Ronnie and his different factions of his career to all get there because it was fairly soon after he passed. So I took it on. I said, "Yeah, there is something I really want to do, and I think there's a lot of other people who'd like to do this too." And we did the first one down at the Observatory, which used to be called the Galaxy Theater, down in near the convention center, a couple miles away. And it was a blowout, man. I mean, members of Aerosmith and like everything, Whitesnake guys, Steve Stevens from Billy Idol, on and on and on and on. And it was a well attended event, and it was sweaty, and it was people piled on top of people getting in to watch what we were doing. And needless to say, Ronnie's fanship is so strong to come and watch that music being played live. They just wanted more. I couldn't end at one. Apparently, everybody was emailing and social media messaging me and saying, "Hey, are you going to do another one yet next year? You got to do it, and you got to get this guy, and you got to get that guy." So then it just kind of became an annual thing, and now we're at the 10-year anniversary of this. So that being said, I think that puts a sort of spin in people's head, like, yeah, I got to go to this one. So, and the players, some of the players from the first one who haven't done it since then are back, and
Nice.
so that's what we're doing. It's all about Ronnie Montrose's career. Of course, most people want to hear the hits off the first two records, which I guess kind of famously, if you're in that circle from the Bay Area or sort of from the circle of Montrose and knowing what's going on, then you kind of know that Ronnie didn't want to play that stuff for many, many years. When he closed the door on Montrose in the late 70s, he just wanted to not play that stuff out and be beholden to that. And he just kept moving on and doing his own sort of, free artistic changing, and as he should. And that was the kind of guy
Mhm.
he was. And I just happened to be there when he wanted to do the Montrose band finally again. He's like, I think I'd like to do this old material of mine with you, Keith. And if you want to, here's the records, check them out, see what you think. Because I was from New York and not so familiar with the Montrose stuff, just kind of the main hits. And I listened to the records and I loved it. And we tried the stuff out like up at Leeds Rehearsal Studio in North Hollywood, and Ronnie liked what I was doing in about 30 seconds, just said, okay, stop playing. Want to do this? I was like, yeah, let's do it, man. I'm game. I'm gung ho, and I just stepped into a situation that was kind of magical because those fans hadn't been able to see this stuff in a really long time. And the band we put together was solid. And so, without getting so much down that road, the event now is a lot of players that people know, a lot of guitar players, especially. We got
Right.
guys from Guns N' Roses, like I said, from Whitesnake. There's a couple different guys from Whitesnake, actually three now. We got Billy Sheehan coming down for the first time doing this on bass. On bass, we also have Dave Ellefson from Megadeth, who played in Montrose with me for a few years with Ronnie. And we also have Sean McNabb on bass, from Quiet Riot, Dokken, Great White. And he was also in the Montrose, that later Montrose band with me for a little bit. Ronnie would say, "Hey Keith, I'm like the Chuck Berry of hard rock." He's like, because there's these great players and they have their own bands and their own tours, but sometimes it would work out. They'd have the time. And um, for example, the first drummer we had was Pat Torpey from Mr. Big, and when he had to go back and do some Mr. Big business, recording or touring. I think the guy that filled in right there was Eric Singer, who Kiss was fortunately on a break at that time. And so we had Eric Singer for a while. And it was kind of like
Mhm.
that. So he was rightful in saying that. He's like, I'm this guy that, people they like to come and play this music for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, those people like to come and play this music down at the NAMM convention each year. And get a kick out of playing it, because I think a lot of guys, a lot of bands out of the 80s and even some of Ronnie's contemporaries from the 70s just love digging into this music, because Ronnie's style of creating a guitar sound and some of the style of his writings, just kind of pioneered something special for a lot of guitar players, almost like a Jeff Beck kind of, where Jeff wasn't really ever in like a Van Halen kind of band or a big band, but he was
Right.
this guitar, connoisseurs kind of guy, and Ronnie in his way was that in America. So, we'll be down there. Many more members of this band and that band that we can talk about and bring up. But if you go to RonnieMontroseRemembered.com, I know that's a mouthful, RonnieMontroseRemembered.com, or my Instagram, Keith St. John. You can kind of see a good cross section of the player list. There's guys from, like I said, Megadeth, Y&T, a couple guys from Y&T, Edgar Winter Band, Ace
Wow.
Frehley Band. And we just, it's a terrible thing. I mean, we lose people every year. It was so hard to lose Ace this year. Um,
Yeah.
and as I stated, Mr. Big, Billy Sheehan, from Mr. Big Winery Dogs, Dave Amato from REO, also from Ted Nugent's band. A lot of people don't realize Dave played in Ted Nugent for a while because he's a badass guitar player and a badass singer. Uh,
Right.
Reb Beach from Winger, and also from Whitesnake, Stacy Blades from LA Guns, Blas Elias from Slaughter. Uh, the list goes on, man. Brad Gillis from Night Ranger, if I haven't mentioned him, and another Bay Area guy who grew up on that stuff. Uh,
Sure.
he'll tell you it was part of his rock and roll Bible growing up. And Phil Demmel, for those guys who know about Phil, he comes from heavier bands mainly.
Right.
Played with Slayer, Lamb of God. Started that band Violence,
Violence. Yeah.
Machine Head for many years, but he's a huge Ronnie Montrose fan because he grew up on that stuff. So, and he's actually a huge Gamma fan, which is another band that Ronnie did after Montrose that was more kind of progressive. There was a lot of keyboards going on, but still some, heavy duty. Maybe you could call it Jeff Beck-esque guitar stuff going on. And Phil's a big fan, so he's definitely going to play a Gamma tune that night, at least one of those when he comes down. And I'll stop rambling and get back to whatever the next question is right there.
You've answered them all. No, I mean we're done. No, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, well, I mean, the next question was going to be. I think you've kind of rounded off. I mean, this is really going to be a who's who, really, at NAMM. Like everyone's going to be at this event, and it's a testimony to him. And now what about Ronnie Montrose? Has he has a estate, he has family, he has legacy. Like how are they involved in this? And then have you been in touch with them about this event?
Yeah, I talked to Ronnie's widow's Lisa, and she comes to these events, not all of them. I talked to her recently, and I'm not actually sure if she's going to be at this one yet or not. But but they're very happy about it. I mean, she's really happy we're doing this, and it's kind of a teary-eyed thing for all of us, because we lived it together. I mean, Lisa, of course, being Ronnie's wife, she'd be out on the road with us sometimes, plenty of the time, especially whenever we were in Northern California or around here on the West Coast. And she's part of my family, and
Mhm.
it was rough, man. It was rough back then, but we try to enjoy what he left behind, which was the legacy of his music and all the great players he played with, and the different bands he was in, and he helped form the sound of, like Van Morrison and Edgar Winter. He played the Only Come Out at Night record with Edgar, which was probably their biggest record, biggest commercial success, and all kinds of other tidbits. So somebody's joining us.
Yeah, we got Mark Pruett of the Whiskey Network who chips in around at MetalAsylum.net and at Sport Life and Music. Mark, are you with us, Mark? Can't you hear us in the field? Mark, can
We
you?
I received a distress signal that or I'm sorry, that Jack was struggling with Keith, so I thought I would join. Actually, it's
No.
my fault because I'm time zone challenged because Jack lives in a very weird time zone. So I sent him a message and I said, "Did the meeting time move?" And he said, "No." And so the confusion's all mine.
I didn't
All
use the
right.
word
I think I'm
time.
still confused, but I don't know if it came out on
That was the whole point.
how
That was
this
the
is
whole point.
working on your screen, but from my screen, Mark is in the bottom box and Jack's in the top box, and I'm in the middle. So I feel like I'm on the Hollywood Squares, and I'm gonna like look down at Mark when I'm talking and go, "Hey, I'm dating myself by saying the Hollywood
Yeah.
Squares, right? That would make me Paul Lynn. So I guess I'm
Oh,
the
I
funny
think it's a
guy."
great reference.
yeah. I was gonna say Shadow Stevens is going to join us in a minute, but
I was gonna say that means you have to say something witty, so I get it. I got it.
yeah, Paul Lynn.
Yeah,
If you're going to be on the Hollywood Squares, it's got to be Paul Lynn, right?
you
Like
got to be
he's.
Paul. Yeah.
Um, well, and I think you alluded to it. I definitely wanted to, and make it clear to everyone watching, like Ronnie Montrose, you're not just a super fan. It's not just like, yeah, I worked with him a little bit. Like this is a friend of yours. Like this is a guy you were friends with. You worked with him, and
Absolutely.
family, like you said, you used the word family. So got much respect for putting this together. In his honor. It's just gonna be great. I got one more question. I'll let our late guy come in. Well, actually, I don't know if there's an elephant in the room or not. I'm just gonna ask it. So. Is Sammy involved? Sammy Hagar, is he involved at all? Has he ever been in touch? Is he just
He's
like
not involved in this event. I mean, Sam's a pretty darn busy guy. I
yeah,
mean, without the music industry at all, Sam would be as successful of a businessman as he is in all these things that he's done, with the tequila brand and whatnot. I mean, he's a smart and he's a get up and go kind of guy, and he's got a lot going on. So, he's got an open invitation to come down if he ever wanted to do this. We did the first memorial that was up at the Warfield in San Francisco together, and
okay.
we've only really had one, I guess, conversation about Ronnie's passing and stuff like that. But I see him over the years here and there, and we talk, and we have a good relationship, and a lot of his, the band I knew the most of his personally was the Wabos. So Mona and Bro and Vic, they've all done this They've all come down and done this at one point or another,
Right.
and other gigs together, other little pickup gigs at times. We've done together as Sam's been busy with the circle and that kind of thing. So a lot of Sam's kind of circle of people that I knew during my time I was playing with Ronnie and used to see those guys sometime. We kind of keep in touch, and they've done this stuff. So, uh,
Awesome.
long answer to short question, but sorry about that.
No, no, it's a great, it's a perfect answer. It's good. I think, you made it clear that there's no bad blood, nothing weird going on. It's just, you're right. Sammy Hagar is it's just one of those guys. Like you're not going to call him and say, "Hey, I'm free, hang out tonight." He's going to be like, "I'll see you in 6 months." So no, it's good stuff. All right, Mark.
What do you think about that, Mark?
Hey, as long as everybody gets along, that's all I really care about. I mean, there's a lot of acrimony that's floating around with a lot of other things. So,
Yeah.
I think as long as it's for the love of the music and everybody's cool, to me that's what's most important. I'd like to see a hell of a lot more than that, more of that in the industry for sure.
Well, there's a lot of love in the room when we do this for sure.
That's
A
cool.
lot of hugs. There's some tears. And by and large, is our kind of. I'm maybe a little bit younger than a lot of the guys in this kind of generation of musicians that come down and do this. And we, every year it's a bummer, for the world. Because the sort of main footprint of rock happened at a certain time in our history, and those some of those people are getting to an age where it's some teary-eyed things are happening. Like I said
It's gonna
earlier,
happen.
Jack and
Yeah.
I were talking. We lost Ace this year,
Yeah.
and it just happens. And so there's people that have been doing the Ronnie thing. You know, James Kotak worked with Ronnie for a while, which I didn't even know. I didn't even know until way after Ronnie was gone, and James and I were doing Kingdom Come together. That I found out that we were talking about it, and he turned me on to the fact that he played on the Mean record and wrote some songs with Ronnie. I'm like, does everything in my life have to be that connected? But we lost James and Frankie Banali. He
Yeah.
came down and he would do this show with us, and I had a little bit of dealings, time with Quiet Riot myself.
Yeah.
And Pat Torpy, who was the first drummer in mine and Ronnie's new version of Montrose, these are tough, man. And I was thinking of doing some dedications this year. It's just taking a minute out because we do party hard and we do play hard and we get down and we get gritty and we get sweaty and but it's nice to give people a deserved moment and let us all just kind of like feel that together sometimes for a minute, um, and then jump back and get to what we're doing. We need to do that once in a while, just to properly honor people and Ronnie as well. Bob James, the singer in Montrose, right after Sammy Hagar, I somehow dug him out of his hidden woodwork, and he came and he sang one of the years that we did this. Maybe it was like 2018. It was either, yeah, somewhere between 2017 and 2019 in there. And he sadly passed too. Another great guy, super easygoing, what I call a hugger. I call someone a hugger, when they just have that sort of, you know, um, non, they don't have that shell around them, that they're kind of like putting forth all the time. They're just like, let everything out. And Ronnie
Yeah.
was kind of that guy to a certain degree, um, if he liked you, it was easy to really get to know a lot of deep things about him. So
I love
Uh,
the feeling of respect. I think that's the right word. I mean, we're all fans, but for you to be able to sort of take that one step further and show your respect. I was watching videos of you, and there's plenty of videos of you that are out there, and the respect that you have for the material that you work with. I saw you do, like you do a crazy good Cashmere. I saw you do Love Ain't No Stranger as a tribute to Coverdale. The respect that you have for the material, the respect that you have for the business. I think it's great. I think it's awesome.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was actually very Ronnie-esque because he'd say to me, he said, Keith, I really love the respect you have for the material. He goes, you sing it your way, but you
Yep.
know in what moments and what times in the song that you pay tribute, you tip your hat to how this material was written and what it was all about. And he said, he's like, you get that, and I really appreciate that you do that. So it was when you started talking that way, it was like bringing back memories. So
I really felt like I had missed something because there was an ultimate jam night that you did with the Love Ain't No Stranger thing, and I'm like, oh man, that's just up the road. I could have been there. I really feel like I missed out. Jack, I'm walking all over you. Were you passing it over to me?
No, you're good, man. I
Okay.
love I love what you just said. I think it's great. And actually, I mean, Keith, I'm going to shamelessly now promote this other thing we're doing. And actually, Mark is a huge part of what we do. We do something called Support Life in Music, which is Slam, which is about how hard the music life is, and it's about protecting musicians and fans too, and everyone in the industry. Because I mean, as you pointed out, like sure, we have some of us who make it to old age and kind of go the natural way, but I mean, we lose a lot of us too young. And just because the music life is hard, and people don't know it. So I'm doing a plug here. You can say what the fuck, man, but I'm doing a plug for Support Life Music. But I think what I will do with that is I'll ask you, man, what is your advice for people who are struggling, whether they're musicians or fans or whatever, whether they're struggling with kind of putting one foot in front of the other and keeping going? What's your advice to keep going?
there's help out there for just about everything if people are looking. I mean, there's a lot of great organizations. The Ronnie Montrose Remembered shows that I do, we give money to Sweet Relief charity. So Sweet Relief helps especially musicians in need of medical care, who don't have proper insurance or don't have any insurance. And Ronnie turned me on to them way back when. And every year I do this, we give proceeds to them. And they also do, if you need any mental counseling, psychology, psychiatry, if you're in distress, there's organizations like this and like yourselves out there who try to direct people to the right spot to get stuff done. I think, if you feel like you're in trouble, before your brain goes down that hole, of there's no way out of this, which I guess some people can get to that point. Obviously, we're only human, but there's always people out there, organizations that they're benevolent. And 3, 2, 1, boom.
Look
Sorry,
at that
was that a little
fantastically
heavy on you,
Look
Mark?
at that fantastically ornate chair. No, no, it was fine. I heard you sit down above. We've reinforced the floor. It's fine.
Yeah,
All
this
right.
is a
This will be
show.
known as Keith St. John's fantastically ornate interview.
Yes, don't please just don't knock over the whiskey bottles. Just that's fine.
Yeah, this is
All right. Sorry
showbiz
about
radio.
that, guys.
No, you're good, man.
It's all
Do you
good.
have a few more minutes, or are
Yeah,
you good for
yeah.
like?
Let's rock
All right,
this thing.
all right. I got a couple more things. Well, I mean, I got one more, probably at least one more, but definitely one more about the Ronnie Montrose Remembered Night. Without giving spoilers, like what songs are we going to hear? I know for you people out there who are not that familiar, it's not just going to be 3 hours of rock candy played back to back. Like it's going to be like talk to us about what's going to be in the set list, what we're going to hear, what kind of songs. Like,
What kind of song? So we're going to kind of, like I was saying earlier, Ronnie, he was in a few different bands, famously before he started Montrose. And his first foray into sort of rock stardom, I guess, was with the Van Morrison band. Now, Van Morrison came up in a day like late 60s, early 70s, when there was maybe you could count the amount of rock stars on your hands. There weren't that many yet. The industry wasn't so huge. So if you were anybody that was making a record that was going gold or platinum or anything like that, I mean, you were a big deal. So we're gonna play not totally in order of Ronnie's career in his life, but sort of. We are gonna start in the Van Morrison vein. So you'll hear a couple songs off the Tupelo Honey record, which was the album he did for Van Morrison.
Nice.
Who the keyboard player eventually became the producer who produced Montrose 1, Ted Templeman. But we'll do a couple songs from there. And then we'll move forward into some Edgar Winter, which was the next main band that he was in. And then we'll get into some Montrose, which was the next thing that happened. And then in between the Montrose, we'll start with right from the first album. You won't hear Rock Candy right off the bat, but it'll be in there. But that whole record, those songs are pretty praised. Space Station Number 5 and Bad Motor Scooter and Make It Last and all that stuff. And in between that, we've got some of Ronnie's solo stuff. Not too much of that. I mean, but we picked the good ones. And then we've got some Gamma stuff. And that's about it. I mean, between the first two Montrose records, there's plenty of material. It's a good 22, 23 song set. So
that's it. 23 songs. I mean,
it'll
that's a pretty deep cut right there. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a good 2.5 hours, maybe something like that.
Big boys don't
quite
even
as
do
long, but
2.5 hours. Come on.
It's a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man. And there'll be some other people, there'll be some people coming up to say some things on and off. And I don't want to mention all those things. Some of them are
There
surprises.
No spoilers.
But there'll be some nice moments of some people coming up that have something to say as well.
Nice.
But we won't, we're not bogged down with a bunch of long speeches or anything like that. 5 minutes, 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, just a word and an intro and a whatever, and back to the music. It's it's a pretty musical, it's a pretty slamming night, and once it gets moving, you can just feel the momentum. It's old school music. I mean, the Montrose music from those two records is somewhere between like Zeppelin and Free and like the Who, where it's just, it's bombastic and it's tough and it's you're watching guys pull it off and it's exciting, so expect an exciting show with a lot of sweat going on and a good crowd. It's always a good crowd.
That's great. Yeah, Montrose, I mean, the songs just rock, just put it bluntly. I mean, it's like, and not just rock candy. Yeah, like the whole, like, especially those first two records. Mark, I'm stepping on you now. I don't know if you had something you wanted to jump in.
Can't get a word in edgewise.
But you're down there. That's
looking up at you, Keith.
Yes.
Stories are something that bind us together, right? It's these experiences that we have, and I'm sure I'd love to sit and talk to you for a couple of hours about the stories that you have that you'd be willing to share. But you've spent some time on stage with someone, and they've transitioned, they've moved on, and it's a little different because you're maybe sort of expecting to look over there and see that person, or expecting them to do something as a part of the stage presence. I'll go back to what we were talking about earlier. Paying respect to him and honoring his memory. Is there a story that you can share that's your favorite story, or a recollection of him of being on stage?
On
Or are you
stage?
saving that for the show? Could be
No,
anywhere.
I don't have time to go into my stories. As you see, my story will tangent off into like 90 minutes, like from, but we have so many times that it happened on stage from that I can remember, from the I don't know which one to tell. The very first time we got out on a kind of big outdoor stage, it was shortly after we put this thing together, and I guess the word was out in the Bay Area that Ronnie had put together after all these years, put together a Montrose band again. So there was an expectation. Um, it was an outdoor, you know, I don't know, maybe a 3,500 or 5,000 seater or something, and it's up in the Bay Area. And Ronnie, for whatever reason, from day one, just had a confidence in me. And I know I kind of lived my life as a very Johnny on the spot guy, like throw anything at me, throw me out of a plane, and I'll figure a way down. I won't worry about it. Well, no problem. I got this. So very first gig, bunch of Hell's Angels in the front, because Bad Motor Scooter and the whole Montrose vibe and stuff, and a bunch of just fans and stuff. And we're coming from the tour bus or from the van that now they're driving us to the gig. And the driver goes, I'm going to go check it out and see if it's good to walk from here to where we got to go to get in there. And the driver comes back and he goes, man, it's just mobbed out there and all the colors are out. And both him and Ronnie see the look on my face like, what is that? Kind of thing. And he's like, oh, Keith, you don't know what colors are, and he told me that's, kind of the nickname for, when the Angels are out. That's like sort of like the code word for the bikers, the gangers are out. And so they looked at me like, okay, man. And, Ronnie put his arm around me and started walking. He goes, don't worry. It's, they're here for a good cause. And so anyway, we're playing the first song of the set, which that day was Rock the Nation. And I've got the mic thing and I decide somewhere as, in the song, I'm going to do the Daltrey thing and swing the mic on the cable. So that's just whatever. I'm just feeling the moment. I don't usually do that stuff, but I'm doing it because I guess I didn't have a wireless mic. We were just doing everything on the cable. And I'm doing that in the guitar solo. Right after the first verse, we get into the guitar solo, and there goes the mic. It's flying straight out, right? So we're going to slam back into the third verse, right? And finish the song. The tallest, biggest, most standout Hell's Angel guy catches it. He just catches it. And I put my hand up, and so he whips it over. Swear to God, absolutely couldn't have been like 1% closer to the right timing. I catch it, put it back on the cord, and I grab Ronnie around the neck, and we get into the third verse, and he just had the most accepting, at the same time, laughing, big shit-eating grin on his face, and nodding with it all at the same time, like he knew I had this somehow, right? And for some reason, that moment and that visual memory sticks in my head. And there are many more, but that was a really good one.
That's
A
fantastic.
sunny day.
That is fantastic.
Like it's like reading a one of those like on the edge of your seat books, and you don't know what's going to happen, but then of course the right thing happens at the last second.
Right. If you saw that happen in a movie,
even though the author is making you feel like there's no way out of this trap, somehow it happens.
That is just a quintessential rock and roll story moment. Why is this not etched in stone somewhere? Come on.
Right. I've got my etcher, man. If you can get me a rock, that's all I need.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so saying if you saw that happen in a movie, you'd be like, "Yeah, this is bullshit." It's funny, but that would never happen in real life. But yeah,
right.
But you lived it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
yeah. Keith, I think we've taken up a lot of your. I really appreciate the time. Ronnie Montrose remembered. People's got to respect. I love what you're doing, carrying on his legacy. We can't let you go though without talking about you. So what 20 we're recording this in the first part of 2026, obviously, because the show is coming up the end of January 2026. What do you have going on this year? Like what are your big
Well,
plans
we
you got
need to
going on this
talk
year?
again soon because I just ended a 3.5 year run with a show that was doing a residency in Las Vegas, and I did do a lot of my own Keith St. John tours overseas on the in betweens because I was allowed to just kind of leave and come back whenever I wanted to, which was great. It was called Raiding the Rock Vault, and if you're kind of a rock and roll fan who goes to Vegas, you probably know about this show because it was going on about 13-ish years. And yeah, so I was a cast member for the last 3.5 years. And also Blas Elias from Slaughter has been doing that with me the whole time. So we would see each other, a few times every week. Doug Aldrich, guitar player who's doing Ronnie Montrose Remembered as well this year. He was in that for a long time. Dave Amato from REO. He also was in that show for a while. I'm probably missing. There's probably a couple more people coming to the Ronnie Montrose thing that happen to have also done that show. And it is a legacy show. And I'll say is instead of was because they're planning on touring on it. They're trying to put together some tours. It was kind of the history of rock and roll. I just mentioned Roger Daltrey, but like from like the Who and like the Stones and Hendrix in the 60s, and then it would get into the 70s, like Zeppelin and Fleetwood Mac and Kansas and Pink Floyd and stuff. And then it would end off in the 80s with Def Leppard and Bon Jovi, and the last song of the night would be Jump by Van Halen. And it's kind of like this history of the, kind of footprint of rock and roll. And I guess, that's another legacy thing that I got the call for. And it was a fun show. But I decided after it ended on December 30th, which was the last show, I was going to take some time off. So right now, I am talking to Doug Aldrich about us just doing like one single real quick with Blas Elias and Brad Lang for the band Burning Rain that we have.
Yep.
And we all kind of agreed on it. So after NAMM, we may be getting together to do that. Everybody's schedule looks good. So we'll probably do that. Make a video for it. We may make some videos for some of the older Burning Rain sort of hit songs that never got that attention because we've been so busy. Doug and I have just been going from thing to thing to thing to thing, and we haven't had a lot of time for that band. And I hope we can put some time into some of that legacy stuff that we have, and for the fans, and for us too. So I know I'll be going back over to Europe and doing some of my own tours, probably maybe one or two this year, just short, a few weeks at a time. But other than that, I want to take some space, take a break, go spend some time with my folks down in West Palm Beach in Florida, maybe a quality month or two with them, and like just kind of get back in that family space for a minute. So if I must be blatantly honest, which I must be, and I just want to give a little time before I really heavily commit to another show right now, because I've had a bunch of offers and they're all great. And, it can be fun and it can be good money at the same time. But right now, I feel like I just need to reset. So for me, doing the Ronnie thing and then kind of reset.
Well, like I said, we're all about the mental health here. That sounds like a great thing for you to kind of reset and recharge and decompress. That sounds awesome. We're gonna come and hang out at the West Palm Beach. One of those. No, I'm kidding. I'm being an idiot.
Come
No,
on down,
man.
man. We got space.
Cool. All right. But no, all right. Keith St. John, everyone. Great history, great career, and then Ronnie Montrose remembered at NAMM. If you're gonna be at NAMM, it's going to be the place to be. All right. I mean.
Absolutely. There's no reason to be anywhere else. There's
All right.
great things going on around NAMM, but this thing is definitely got a lot of heart and a lot of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, man. It's a good time.
Nice. All right, Mark, I don't want to, shut you out, man. You have anything else to say before we cut?
No, I'm going to be looking for you at NAM when we're crawling around on the floor. So hopefully get a chance to shake your hand in person, and I'll be sitting on a chair in the beach in Florida with you. So
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll do this sort of, I don't know how your screens are, but like I said, we'll do this Hollywood Squares thing again, and maybe we'll do it in real life. But for anyone who didn't catch it, during the NAMM convention weekend, it's Ronnie Montrose Remembered on January 24th at 7:30 p.m. There's a couple of opening bands before we start that are actually really good too. Doors are at 5. You can find tickets at RonnieMontroseRemembered.com. If you want, just go to my Instagram at Keith St. John. I should pop up pretty quick. And then you can follow the link tree to the ticketing descriptions and the package descriptions. As far as VIP packages, even at this point, we're just about down to the wire and we're out. So if you want to get one of those, you got to hurry up, get going. But there's general admission seating left, and prices are really, really reasonable. And we give some money to Sweet Relief Charity. So it's a good cause as well.
awesome.
Definitely.
Is there a middle square package that we can get for us, or
Middle square. Well, on my screen, I am the middle square. So you're saying you want to come up and hang out?
is there a bottom
Hang
square
out next to
package?
me on the set.
I'm going to be holding up a sign that says Keith loved you in the middle square.
That's awesome, man.
All right. What did we win? Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much, Keith. I'm going to hit pause on the recording, but I mean, if you got a minute, like one more minute, we'll keep you one more minute.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith.
There you go.
There
Wait,
it is, man. Actually, I mean, technically, these are rectangles on my screen, so I think a square qualifies as a type of rectangle, but a rectangle does not qualify as an actual square. So we're the Hollywood rectangles, actually.
There you go.
Which
Actually, I was
is
going to
better
say
than the triangles. So
that's true. I was going to say you're in the Alice position, but I guess you're right. We don't have the kids on the other sides and the mom and dad. For Brady Bunch, of course. Like we're in the
Brady Bunch. Now we've come
Yeah.
full circle.
Yes, that's the Valley. That's not Hollywood.
Right?
All right, I got to hit pause. We're gonna talk all night. Thanks, Keith.
Right on, brother.
Keith St. John, everyone.
Have a good one.